the Facebook generation, the generation that gets all its news and is not afraid of putting all its views out there on Twitter. It's often described as a generation that's constantly online, and there's so much proof of it. Everyone's constantly putting their life out on these social networking sites, including where they are for dinner, who they are eating with, and what they are eating. Of course, at the end of the day, what they thought of the meal as well. And this is true for relationships that they have as well. Which brings us to the obvious face-off today. Is the virtual world ruining real relationships? That's what we are asking. Charitha Arora is with us, founder of Perfect Life Spot, also Rashika Sood of Yellow Sparrow, two young entrepreneurs that we have with us. Thanks both. Charitha, I'll start with you. You think, yes, it's coming in the way of relationships as we know them.
Yes.
Why? You have 1 moment.
Yes.
1 minute, I beg your pardon.
Okay. I believe that the virtual medium provides us with the wild possibilities of notifications, stimulations, updates, and so on and so forth. So the problematic aspect is that you are not able to be present in the moment. It leads to a certain carnival of distraction. So anything for any pursuit of excellence, what you need is your complete presence of mind, your concentration, and that is not present over there. You are distracted and your engagement lacks depth. You might have a certain horizontal of engagement but might not have a vertical of engagement.
Right. In fact, I absolutely love that phrase, that carnival of distraction. I think that's really well put, and that's what many would agree with, Rashika, that there's so much out there. There's so much that you want to be involved in. You want to see what. You don't want to just tell the world what you're doing, you want to see what everybody else around you, even those who you've never met or don't know, are up to.
I think we're living in a time of multitasking. So it's easier for us to do that in today's age. Maybe it's very difficult for my mom, but for me it's very easy to multitask. And I think my horizons expand when I get to know what my friends are doing or what people I don't even know are doing. I mean, I get introduced to so many new things by that way. So I believe on one hand, maybe, it is distracting, but if you can multitask, then what's the harm?
Right. So is that, would you sort of agree with that? Is that a subjective thing? She's saying if I can handle it, if I'm not distracted, if I can focus on what I'm meant to, along with, be on all these platforms, be active in the sort of virtual world, as it were, is it still a problem?
I would have loved to agree with it, but then psychologically it is proven on all dimensions that multitasking does not increase productivity in any way, rather it reduces efficiency. So in a way, multitasking is an illusion that can be sustained by the rhetoric of lifestyle, marketed very well with the mobile phones as something that is a worth marker, but it is very difficult to psychologically substantiate, because all the research studies that we have prove it, that all the people who claim that they are multitasking, it is not efficient. The work loses its quality because it's not a product of the thinking technologies like concentration, focus, and that uninterrupted intellectual labor.
Right. You've just sort of shattered everything that I believed I've been doing all this while, because I've been quite convinced that I can multitask and I'm doing that okay, even efficiently at times, but she's not really agreeable. Rashika, what would you say?
I would say that when it comes to work, maybe you can say that it's not productive, but when it's coming to communicating your point of view, talking about issues that matter to you, I think it's very easy. I mean, I can chat with my friend on WhatsApp one moment, and the other moment I can update my status on Facebook. That doesn't really require me to, think too much, or it's not destroying my work. I mean, when I'm working, I'm focused on my work. So I don't think that it's personally how you take it.
You're saying it depends on where you are at a given time. If it's at work, and then it's a different issue, but what if you're not at work? What if she's not talking about the after hours, not the work hard, but the play hard? Is it sort of different then?
I would just like to go back to what she said, because there are some interesting points that you have made, and I think that contribute to the carnival of chaos. So when we think about the topic, that how is it affecting our relationships, I think that's what it's doing. It's affecting our relationship not just on the intrapersonal level and also on the interpersonal level. For any relationship to work, one of the most important ideas that need to be at place is quality time. But if we are multi-chatting, if you're talking to 10 people within the same time, how far are we able to truly engage with the conversation? How far are we actually making that transition from the short-term memory to the long-term memory? How far are we retaining the moments that would add on substantially to relationship?
And that's a good point because, Rashika, there are all those out there who would sort of share my experience of going out for a meal with friends or going out to a party, and you have people sitting in tiny groups and everyone's on the phone till someone sort of stands up and says that, guys, we are here because we want to interact, because we want to be in each other's company, not for constantly replying to that WhatsApp or text message or Facebook, Twitter, whatever your poison might be.
Well, yeah, on one hand, that is true because we've sort of entered in this phase of addiction where we're getting addicted, which is not the idea of social media. I mean, it provides you a platform to interact and to build new relationships. You can become friends with people all over the world. But yeah, it's up to you how you take it. I mean, you can be addicted to it or you can choose not to. So that comes again to your personal point of view, how you take it. I mean, you can't blame a pen that the journalist is not, maybe write something aggressive or something which is, you can't blame the pen for it. Right. So social media is providing
a platform. It's just a platform. Why blame the platform?
Exactly.
It's the users really in question who are getting them addicted, who are perhaps not able to draw the line.
I feel that I would like to differentiate over there. I feel that by the very definition, the word medium mediates. So mediates not just the message, the sender, the message, as well as the receiver. So even if we would like to believe that it's objective and we have that freedom to draw that line, but I feel that there are strategic places where social networking sites use terminologies like, which sounds like a very interesting psychological trap, that your likability now can be quantified. So the medium is strategic, it's not innocent. It has a certain intention.
What's wrong with that, Charnita? If somebody were to say that, it's great for my self-esteem, I put a picture of myself out there, I would imagine the reverse is that if I don't get it, then it sort of shatters me. But sort of, is it a very individual thing?
I would have wanted to agree that it is subjective, but then the rise of anxiety, the rise in depression rates, everything after online personification of oneself, the need to represent oneself in a certain way that you fit into the parameters of likability, that's a very psychologically difficult thing. And as far as you as and when you depend on external validation for your self-worth, there's a huge problem.
But that is sort of, I see the point that you're making, perhaps a generation that sort of needs to see X number of likes out there to feel good, just like looking at self in the mirror or admiring your own picture isn't good enough. Your sense of self-worth comes from others, comes from other external factors. But there's one point that Charnita made that I do want to talk about. When she talks about relationships, talks about interactions, there are all those, we often hear of so-and-so who broke up with somebody on one of these social networking sites, somebody who's revealing details about others, or which actually should have been personal, because there is a private and a public sort of phase to all of us. But somehow when social media comes in, there are all those who say that the lines have been blurred, nothing is personal anymore.
Well, again, I would like to say that that again comes to the user and the kind of people you have friended. If you've friended more intellectual people, stuff like that doesn't happen. And
but nobody wants only the intellectual types, right? On their sort of
it's good for gossip too. Yeah. But that has been there for ages, gossiping has been there for ages, and leaking out information one way or the other, that has been there. What I would like to mention, counteract with what Charnita said, likability. I believe that it's not just the pictures you upload which get likes, also the statuses you share, also the like ad campaigns which come on Facebook, which you share, that speaks volumes about your personality too. And even your opinions which you share, that's also something where likability comes into view. Right. And I think people are shaping their opinions
and by what they're seeing, which of course I think is an important point. But at the same time, the cynics would perhaps say that very often what you see on Facebook is not really the person. You can be posting so much on Facebook. There's this question mark on who's the real you. There's no way of knowing.
True, but why are we only looking at relationships from the point of view of Facebook? There are also websites like LinkedIn which provide corporate relationships.
Fair enough, right.
There you can't fake it.
Point, right? That's an important point, Janet.
Two things. First, that yes, the way we represent. So initially, when the online world came up, the idea was that it worked as a mirror. It represented our offline existence.
Right.
Now it's constructing our offline existence.
Right.
People are clicking so that they can upload. People are doing things so that they can share. Here comes the dimension of performance. That virtually there is an audience, and you are cropping in and cropping out and strategically, selectively performing. And again, a very interesting alternative life that a person is living. On the business portal, what is interesting is that yes, as far as the transaction is concerned, information exchange is concerned, something tangible and something that can be
Right.
verified is
And those are
concerned.
very professional
that
spaces,
is
so
interesting.
that's-
that
that's
is
of
there.
course different, right?
But when there is something subjective, when there is matter of emotions involved, then there is a lot of dilution, I
Right.
feel.
But I think, Janet, also those who would say that, it's human tendency to want appreciation, to want to be liked, to see those likes. There's really nothing wrong with that.
Yes, I would have wanted to believe that, but then body dysmorphic disorder is something that is a new development that talks about how people who are obsessed with clicking selfies suffer from a certain self-representation, which is highly problematic. So psychological reflections of certain behaviors and tendencies that we are seeing develop. I think that is where we want to pay attention, because disadvantages are the places where we can actually ensure some degree of positive action.
Right. I've taken your point, Rashika, about the professional space, about all these professional groups, which we are, I think, in agreement that are used for professional purposes. They're very professional, spaces. But again, when we talk about the virtual world and the real relationship, we're sort of still talking about all these social networking sites, which for all the good that they do, keep us connected. You're seeing people getting connected after years, after decades sometimes, that you haven't even thought of the person, and there you are rekindling a relationship that you had in school, or even primary school, as is the case. But how much really is too much? We're talking about selfies, and this is a selfie generation. This is a selfie generation. You see selfies everywhere. They're constantly taking selfies on holiday, at work, playing, working, whatever it is. So is there any sort of, do you really see this generation going overboard, or do you think it's an individual thing and most adults know sort of how to find the balance?
Well, as far as selfies are considered, I think, we're going a little overboard with that.
Blame it on Hollywood, I think, not us.
Right. But let's come to the point where social media has really empowered introverts. Maybe you have really nice articulation skills or are very good orators, but people who are introvert and who are shy, they get a space online to talk about their opinions and build new relationships, something which they weren't able to do before because they weren't able to interact with,
perhaps held back, or perhaps were not sort of confident enough.
Yeah, now they can type it out, they can reflect, they can self-express, and then they can post it.
Right.
So I believe they are being empowered that way.
Given a platform to those who perhaps could not get their voice across, that's
Yes.
quite a possibility.
Again, but then if you take a second look at that aspect, yes, it gives me a space for self-expression, definitely. However, isn't it isolating me further? Because now I would not take that out of my comfort zone step to talk to a person. So I might virtually have 10,000 followers, but I might not have someone to talk to in real time. Isn't that creating a certain whirlpool of digital?
But so then, are you
sucking?
saying that we can't do a bit of both? That I can't have real and virtual relationships? You're saying, like,
I would not
where do you
say
stand?
that it would socially empower a person in a certain self-expression if this was the only way. It has to be complemented by real-time interactions, engagements that involve body language, eye contact, smiles. It can be supplemented but cannot be substituted.
Right. Okay, so you're saying that it's just not enough. It's important to have that life out there. I must ask you, are you on all these social networking
Yes,
sites?
I am.
Are you, and you found the balance,
Yes.
right?
That's why I got into this research, because I
Right.
felt there is a need to talk about it.
Right. You felt that perhaps it could have taken over.
Yes.
It could have. It is
definitely.
easy to sort of let it take over, isn't it? I mean, we're all on it, and it is easy. But I think that now that we are talking about it and we are aware of, that what the damage can be, do you feel that, we are sort of more conscious of, like, okay, now we can keep it away and that's okay.
Perhaps I don't think we will be able to do that, even though we feel. Maybe temporarily we'll feel that, yeah, we write too much. So we take a break.
Right.
Yeah, we do that.
We'll
All
be
of us
back.
are.
We'll be back,
We'll be
right?
back because this is the generation of social media.
Right.
In fact, now I'll take the point to highlight different sorts of relationships. From personal relationships, we can also talk about a student and teacher relationship, which has evolved in volumes after the development of social media, because now there are platforms like Khan Academy, Topper Learning, where you can actually go and interact with the teacher. You can get to learn so much more.
That's more
which
like
is
a teaching portal, you would say, for Khan Academy than you would for. But I see your point. You're saying that the network, the internet, all of us online have made all sorts of connections, be it professional spaces, be it for education, and even entrepreneurs like yourself. I would imagine that there are so many online opportunities. But that's all that we have time for. Charnita and Rashika, thanks both so much for coming in. Clearly, this is the last word on this hasn't been spoken. And if you have any thoughts, remember, you can always write in and share them with us. For the moment, we're slipping into a quick break. And remember, when we come back, we still want you in the real world there. Don't move on to the virtual world and not be back. We're slipping into a quick break. Lots more on the other side.